Let's set a comfortable meditation posture and close the eyes. Put our attention on the silence that is always there, deep in the mind. This is the silent witness. You are the silent witness. Connect with this silent witness and become the silent witness. Now, from this perspective of the silent witness, please listen to the words of the Yoga Vasishta, chapter 4, or book 4, chapter 18, continuing with verse 42. There are some living souls who meet and join with others and propagate their species, then cease to exist after having lived a long time together. You must observe with keen sight and a well-discerning mind in order to look into the different states and thoughts of others. There are thousands of worlds contained in the mind, like atoms in the earth. The ample space of the sky and in water. Worlds reside in those atoms, like oil and mustard seed. When the mind becomes perfect, it comes to be a living being. Consciousness, being purified, becomes all pervasive. Hence, consciousness becomes one with the living spirit. Individual cells of the lotus-born Brahma and all other living beings are only their own self-deception. The sense of the existence of the world is like a protracted dream, rising and setting in the mind. This is a profound statement, as are many in the Yoga Vasishta. One, though, that leads us directly to the ultimate of self-realization. The sense of existence of the world is like a protracted dream, rising and setting in the mind. The sense of existence is an illusion. This is a very fundamental understanding. At some point, you will no longer sense that you exist. When you cease to sense your existence, when you cannot find your existence as an individual, then you have arrived at the fulfillment of self-realization. You do not exist. You are not individual. You are only pure consciousness. Some beings pass through successive states of existence, like a man passing from one dream to another. And they think they are firmly established in them, just as one supposes to be settled in some place or some house appearing in history. Whatever consciousness dwells upon at any time or place, it immediately sees the same appearing before it. Just like anything seen in dream appears to be true to the dreamer at that time. The atom of consciousness contains the particles of all our notions. Just like the seed contains the powdery particles of future leaves, branches, flowers, and fruit. I consider the atoms of consciousness and the mind contained within the particles of the material body to be both empty and joined in one without causing a duality in their nature. Consciousness conceives many other atomic germs within itself under the influence of particular times, places, actions, and circumstances that cannot be extraneous from itself. It is this particle of consciousness that displays creation like the vision of a dream before it. It is this conception that led the gods of Brahma and others to the idea of their visible bodies, as it makes little insects think of their own bodies. All that is displayed in this outer world is in reality nothing at all. Yet, these living beings, though possessing the particles of consciousness in them, falsely conceive the duality of an extraneous existence. Some intellects of particular persons display themselves in their bodies and derive pleasure from their consciousness through their eyes and external organs. Others look at outer objects as receptacles of consciousness, from the belief that all pervasive, inseparable, and imperishable intellect, soul must abide in each and every one of them. Some men view the entire physical world within the body instead of the all-pervading consciousness of Brahma as Vishvarupa, the universal form. These, being hardened by long habit of thinking, so are plunged in the gulf of error. They wander from one another, from one error to another, just like a man sees one dream after another. They roll about in the pit of delusion, like a stone hurled down a hill. Some persons rely on the union of the body and soul. Others who rely on the soul alone are placed beyond the reach of error. Many who rely on their consciousness shine as rational beings. They who think in terms of other people's errors are to be considered as under the influence of false dreams in their sleep. God, being the all-pervading spirit of nature, is truly seen in the spirit of everybody, because he is everywhere. His omnipresence is present in everything in all places. God, shining as everyone's living soul, resides as the soul of each soul and mind, whether directly or indirectly created. One living being is born in another, and that again within another, like the layered bark of plantain tree that grow one under the other over the inmost core. By thinking about phenomena, to recognizing their existence in the visible fullness, we get rid of our error of the reality of the world of form, as we do of the ornament in the material gold. He who does not inquire into the questions, who am I and what is the world, is not liberated in his inner soul and suffers under the continuous fever of a false life. He is successful in his inquiry, who by his good understanding comes to know how to curb his worldly greed day by day. As proper routine is the best medicine to secure the body's health, so the habit of keeping the organs of sense under control is the only way to improve understanding. He who rambles with his words and does not discern with his mind is like a blazing fire in a picture. No one can be wise until he gets rid of his false wit. As the perception of air comes by feeling and not by word of the mouth, so wisdom proceeds from the curtailing of desires. Let's examine that a moment. Wisdom proceeds from the curtailing of desire. How can having fewer desires cause wisdom to arise? The curtailing of desires follows from the balancing of individual karmic traces. Wisdom, in this context, is knowledge of the divine karmic traces within this universe that are the foundation and structure of the universe. These are the laws of nature, the will of God. One is said to have wisdom when one knows the will of God. And one can know this by balancing karmic traces. Ambrosia in a painting is no ambrosial food. Fire in a picture is not a burning flame. The beauty in a drawing is no beautiful maid. And wisdom in words only is lack of wisdom. It's not enough to know, remember from scriptures, the syllables of the divine karmic traces. In fact, knowing the syllables of the divine karmic traces is not wisdom. It's like knowing the roads one must take to arrive at chosen destination. It is the experience of the chosen destination that is important, not the roads that lead to the chosen destination. So we must experience the divine karmic traces. Upon experiencing them, we realize these are our actions. We are the creators of these divine karmic traces. At first, wisdom serves to weaken our passions and enmity. Then to uproot them at once. Or at last, it lessens our desires and endeavors to give the appearance of holiness to its possessor. The words of the Rig Veda are significant and important because they constitute the words of the divine karmic traces. And these words are the natural antidote to individual karmic traces. Because individual karmic traces only arise and become established by actions that are opposed to the divine karmic traces in some way. If we take in the words of the Rig Veda or the Yoga Vasishta or any of the Vedic literature, at a superficial level of the conscious thinking mind, we feel good temporarily. We feel peace temporarily. As karmic traces in the physical realm are balanced a little bit. But if we connect with the silent witness, and perceive the syllables, the frequencies of the divine karmic traces from the level of the and the senses of the silent witness, then those syllables have the power to balance the root of our individual karmic traces. The whole reason we listen to Yoga Vasishta, while established in the silent witness, is this. Chapter 19. Differences between waking and dreaming states. Vasishta continues. Brahma is the seat of life and remains as empty air everywhere. Hence, there are many kinds of living beings situated in the world within the womb of universal life. All beings composed of dense consciousness and soul contain other living animals underneath, like the manifold layers of the plantain tree, and insects contained in the womb of the earth. Worms and insects that grow out of the dirt and scum of earth and water in the hot season and appear filthy to our sight, nevertheless, are living beings, full of particles of consciousness. However, living beings strive for their progress. So they prosper in their lives according to the different scopes of their thoughts and actions. Those who worship gods go to the region of God. Those who worship Yaksha nature spirits meet in the world of Yakshas. Those who adore Brahma ascend to the world of Brahma from the Loka. Therefore, resort to what is the best and greatest refuge. Now we will continue established in the silent witness. To take the action necessary to balance all the individual karmic traces that have been enlivened by the reading of the Yoga Vasishta. We'll do this with the Trimana Sanyama practice on the esoteric Mahamantra.